welcome to today's edition of Under the Bleachers. My name is Chris Ransom. That is the founder of Under the Bleachers, or the founding father, William Yanish, and our guest today, Alex Neier. We are going to talk about a lot of things in the NFL, not just the Steelers coaching search, but other coaching searches possibly in general. But we will begin with the Steelers because that's his team. That's the team he covers. I live in Pittsburgh, by the way. So I could introduce you to some of the Steelers people I know after the show off the air, but we're going to dive straight into Steelers coaching search, Alex, and Mike Tomlin. What an impact. What a career. 19 years, 0 losing seasons, Super Bowl 43. That was my senior year in high school, by the way, when the Steelers won that. So
Wow.
it was kind of a big deal at the time, but they have
Yeah.
not done anything significant since. And Marvin Lewis and Mike Tomlin are now tied with 7 consecutive opening round playoff losses. So,
Yeah. Not exactly the type of company you want to be in conversation with, but no, Mike Tomlin was a great coach. The latter part of his career is not a lot of things that Steelers fans are going to remember, but I think they'll remember a lot of what he did in the first half of his career, the Steelers. Also, I will say I don't specifically cover the Steelers. I do cover like all sports. So I'm not like a beat writer or anything, but yeah, I do pay
and,
attention.
and some of my friends that do cover the Steelers aren't beat writers either. I just know a lot of people that cover the team
Okay.
on social media. That's what I meant by when I
Oh,
said I
of
might
course. Yeah,
introduce you to
sorry.
some of those people after the show off the air. But yeah,
Absolutely.
as far as the coaching search goes, you probably saw the thumbnail. I don't think Marcus Freeman's in the mix. I think they are going to end up with Chris Shula, defensive-minded head coach, under the age of 40, fits the typical profile, whether it's Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, defensive-minded head coach, defensive coordinator experience, promote to head coach, under 40. That's been the Steelers' alibi, it feels like, for the past 50, maybe 60 years now. 1969 is when they hired Chuck Noll. So we're approaching 60 years, but I think we're at year 55 or 56 to be exact. I'm not sure, but either way, I think they're going to end up with Chris Shula if I had to take an educated guess, Alex.
Yeah, Shula would be my number one too. People around the Steelers seem to think it's kind of a debate. They kind of think, hey, where do we go with this next head coach? Do you want to stay defensive minded with how the franchise has been really for their entire history, or do you want to go more offensive minded and try something new? If Shula is the answer, definitely that's going to be a new trajectory for the Steelers because, like you said, anyone associated with the Rams, that's going to be the Rams offense. I mean, that's going to be probably an upgrade over what the Steelers have had offensively for the past couple seasons. If they want to go defensively and they still want to stay, you know, rough and tough Steelers football defense first. I know you haven't talked about them yet, but I've seen Robert Saleh has been named. Who else has been named? Um, I know Shula and Salah. That's the two I kind of had in my head. Do you know who else defensively they would have
Brian
been in talks
Flores, but
with?
I feel like he's too edgy for Pittsburgh. And if they wanted him, they would have fought to keep him around when he was Tomlin's DC. So yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't remember that, but yeah, for a year he was Tomlin's DC before he went to Minnesota.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
see
well,
that
Shula would definitely be my number one.
they've requested interviews with Green Bay's defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, Carolina's, however you say it, Evero, and Chargers Jesse Mentor.
Yeah, it's Ezra Everett. It's a very hard name to pronounce.
Uh-huh.
I was just trying not to murder it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So you mentioned Chris Shula as your favorite for the next head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think so because like the Steelers have had how many quarterbacks in the last 5 years, and they it's like it's either their defense is really good and their offense is lacking, or they haven't had of like I wouldn't say like elite both sides of the ball for how long now. Like they've always had a strength on one side, but it's just their team's not been complete. Um, I think Shula, and if he brings what's that other guy? Nathan Shielhaus, is that his name? Shielho. I don't know how to say it. Um, if they would bring those two, I think that'd be a big upgrade offensively. I think that's that's what they need because like I don't their offense was just so misguided this season with Arthur Smith. I hope Arthur Smith never coaches again. The way he implemented the Steelers offense, he was not, he would use John Smith on almost every damn drive. Like Pat Fryermuth was just sitting on the bench all the time. And the one time that he did start Pat Fryermuth, well, more than one time, but the most notable time that actually helped them won the game or like get back into a game was that Ravens game that they won to get into the playoffs. So I think just the way all the offensive weapons were used this year by Arthur Smith was not great, and they can use a new voice on that side.
Nathan Shielhaus is only 35, so. And he was the running backs coach for Breece Hall at Iowa State in 2021. And then that was the 21-22 season. And then then a year after Brock Purdy left, he gets promoted to offensive coordinator, and then he makes his jump to the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think that like they should be looking for somebody that uh, will stick around for probably 5, 10, maybe more years, but also they need new ideas because I feel like with Tomlin in the past couple of years, he's kind of failed to implement kind of where football's going and kind of stuck in the past.
Yeah, and I think we're also at a point where the Steelers are going to, in addition to getting their quarterback in the draft, they're going to have to get younger on defense too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. TJ Watt's not getting any younger. He didn't look great against the Texans. Really, no one did. The defense did for the first 3 quarters, really. But yeah, you don't know how many more years Cam Hayward's gonna play. Like I said, TJ Watt's getting older. Um, Jalen Ramsey is getting older. Um, yeah, there's a chance they might take a step back for a couple years, but I think they would need to take a quarterback. Like, I mean, I know they took Will Howard, but I don't know what you guys think of Will Howard, but I kind of so what he could be if he gets the chance. I kind of wish they would start him just to see, but they just need like that franchise guy, and they haven't been in the position to really take that guy.
Yeah, and this draft's kind of weaker at quarterback. So, I mean, Mendoza's the only guy we have a day one grade on right now, and he's probably going to go in number one of the Raiders. I don't know. I mean, there's 4 other guys, but you got Diego Pavia had some off the field concerns, had the selfie in the nightclub after Mendoza won the Heisman. You got Carson Beck, the Miami quarterback. If he beats Mendoza, he could be in the conversation for Pittsburgh. If he wins that national title on Monday, the Miami Hurricanes quarterback. You've got Trinidad Chambliss. He got Ole Miss to the semifinals, came very close, kind of small frame, 6 foot, 200, but plays with a lot of heart, might have the best attitude of any QB in the draft outside of Mendoza. And then you've got Ty Simpson. So those are not great options for this year. I think punting on this draft and getting your quarterback in 2027 is the more appropriate route to go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wonder who. That's what I'm trying to think of. Like, I don't think,
Dante
going for a
Moore
high.
went back to Oregon. He was my QB3. Julian Sayin, Ohio State Heisman runner-up. He's in next year's draft, as is Arch Manning. So, and C.J. Carr, Notre Dame, Lenore Sellers, South Carolina. I think 2027 is probably going to end up being a much better QB group than this one. So, if I had to guess, Steelers, because what the Steelers could do is they could trade for Kyler or Tua, and they could buy them out of a contract in 2027. Because right now, both Kyler and Tua's contracts, if neither team can get a trade partner, you're looking at those teams probably keeping those guys for one more year and then buying them out in 2027.
Yeah. That sounds like a smart idea. I would be down with those guys for a year and then see where the draft would go. A lot of people, I was wondering about if Aaron Rodgers was going to come back, but now that Tomlin stepped down, I thought I saw a report that said Rodgers only came here because of Tomlin, or he was only playing here for Tomlin. So I think that kind of shuts the door on that
Yeah.
question. So I'm not
So
mad
if you were general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would their next quarterback be?
Um, oh, that's tough. Between like anyone available or just
Yeah,
um hmm, I don't even think Steelers fans know who their quarterback's going to be next year. uh
right.
that's really tough. So you're
I'm
like,
guessing what they will try to do is they'll try to trade for Kyler or Tua, but they're only going to be willing to give up like 3 years of number threes or 2 years of number twos. They're going to try to lowball the team. And if they fail to lowball either the Dolphins or the Cardinals, my guess is they'll roll with Mason Rudolph in the first half and Will Howard in the second half. That will be the plan B if they fail to lowball the Cardinals or Dolphins into giving up because I don't think they want to give up a first to get Kyler or Tua,
hmm,
and I'm in agreement with that since they've gotten
Yeah,
0 playoff wins. But Tua's been to the playoffs twice. I think he's worth 2 seconds. I think Kyler at this point is probably only worth 3/3, but you're probably not going to get him for that little. So I don't know.
yeah, honestly, if like I would be totally on board with like if they don't do either of that, and I don't know if I'm in the minority here, I would be like totally fine if they started like Mason Rudolph and then the Will Howard thing. If they just wanted to do that for next year and then say, screw it, we're just doing the draft next year, I would be totally fine with that because like when I've seen Mason Rudolph play, like I know people give him like on his reputation, like they said, the Miles Garrett getting hit by the helmet thing, they kind of make fun of him. But no, like when he's been playing and he came back last year for that one game, the Steelers almost won that game. He looked good. He was throwing the balls down the field. I think he's kind of a better quarterback than people give him credit for. So if they just want to do that next year, I would be okay with that. Then they wouldn't have to give anything up either.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think it's a half bad idea to see what can get done with Will Howard. I mean, he's obviously won a national championship. I mean, there's no really glaring weaknesses that I see in his game. I mean, I just remember, looking at him and seeing that bow-legged kind of stance, and it kind of
Yeah.
takes away from your throwing power a little bit when you do that. And he's got a few things to work on. I think he's perfectly capable of becoming a you know good backup or fringe starter. He can come in and win you some games, but obviously, I mean, you that's the one thing that you definitely want to get planned is your quarterback when you're
Hmm.
coming into a regime change like this. I mean, who would be some of your? I mean, if you were hired as the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, I mean, who are some of the offensive coordinators that you would be looking at?
Oh, that's a good question. I like I said, I would definitely be big on the the Rams guy that I was talking about. Already forgot his name again.
Shieldhouse. I pulled up his profile because I didn't know who it was either. Nathan Shieldhouse. Mike
Yeah.
McDaniel would be a great OC, but he might get a head coaching job. But it sounds like he would rather take an OC job with a contender like a Detroit, Philly, Pittsburgh versus going to a team like Cleveland or Tennessee as the head coach. That's
Mhm.
what I've read from the reports.
I would take Robert Saleh as a DC too, but I don't know if he wants to do that.
Yeah. I think it's either head coach or he's staying in San Francisco.
And I know Brian Flores has also gotten a lot of attention, a head coach. I would take him as a DC too, if he doesn't. But I would probably imagine he would get a head coaching job somewhere.
Let's talk about some of the other teams in the head coaching cycle, because that was the second topic we had planned. What do you think's the most compelling opening outside of Pittsburgh? As much as I hate to bring up your rival, the Baltimore Ravens, I feel like that's the best team outside of Pittsburgh in this coaching cycle as far as availability goes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's the Ravens, no doubt. Um, I I think the Ravens are better than the Steelers like destination wise, just because obviously they just have, obviously they had a down year. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were one field goal away. But I mean, they got Derrick Henry, they got Lamar, they have Zay Flowers. Um, they still have all those guys. Um, if I'm any head coach, they're probably top three to not number one on the list of places I would be willing to go to for sure. I agree with you.
Yep, I agree with that. And the first coaching hire of the cycle came yesterday, late last night. It was John Harbaugh to the New York Giants. And he's going to take Todd Monken with him as his offensive coordinator. I think the Giants, every year there's a team drafting the top five that makes the playoffs. This year it was the Patriots and Jaguars. Next year it's looking like it's going to be the Giants. You're going to have the fifth pick in the draft. You're going to have Malik Neighbors back by week 4. You're going to have Dart and Scadaboo both back by week 1. And you're going to have a young team that's going to be positioned really well. And the Giants should benefit from an easy strength of schedule as well next year, too. We'll see. But there's a lot of things working in their favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I like the fit. I think that's kind of what they need. That's a perfect coach to help Jackson Dart in his first full season, right? Because he didn't start with the Giants, did he?
Yeah.
It was Russell Wilson for the first what, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yes.
something like that. Yeah, I love that hiring. Yeah, they're they're close. They're getting there, but they're kind of close. They're close. I don't really know what the Giants, to be honest. You can never tell. They never know what they're gonna do. So
Yep. Some of the other openings: Atlanta, Miami, Cleveland, Tennessee. I felt like Harbaugh, whoever the Steelers get, whoever the Ravens get, those are probably going to be the first 3 big hires, and then the other teams, the other 6 teams in this cycle, I would say, are playing for leftovers at that point. It's not like those teams. Like, I think in the future, when Tennessee and Cleveland have indoor stadiums and their QBs are more established, they'll be able to attract better coaching hires. But right now, in this cycle, with all the drama and chaos ensuing, it just feels like teams like the Titans and Browns are going to be going for leftovers rather than having their pick of the litter among the candidates in this coaching cycle.
yeah, I do. I think. Well, the one thing that Tennessee has going for them is Cam Ward, and even though he didn't have the greatest rookie year, he probably did as best as he could given the circumstances of that team. Um, but Cleveland, I don't I don't know who's going to want to go to Cleveland. I'm not saying that like I don't hate the Browns or anything. Surprisingly, I really don't. I'm just impartial to them. But what I saw from Shadur Sanders, like I just don't I just don't believe in him. I don't know if I'm the only one, but he played against the game he played against Pittsburgh. On watching him, I know they lost that game and everything, and he made a couple good throws, but the picks that he threw, he just missed by a mile, and nothing that he really did was in that game impressed me. And I know it's early on. He's still got very limited experience, so maybe he can figure that stuff out. But I think Cleveland might be one of the most undesirable, which I don't. That's just my opinion, but.
I agree mainly for two reasons. I know our co-host on the Draft Utopia podcast, Joey, would disagree, but I agree with you for two main reasons. One is the weather in Cleveland. I think the weather's the first reason, and two, the QB uncertainty is the second reason, and three, you're being micromanaged by Andrew Berry, who I think is one of the bottom 5 GMs in the league, regardless of how you feel about certain players, certain personnel decisions. So that's kind of why I think the Browns is a more undesirable coaching spot right now at the moment. Raiders, if you think Mendoza can be a star, the Raiders has some appeal to it. You have Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Ginty, you have a few good building blocks, but nothing spectacular either.
Mm-mm. I just feel really bad for Pete Carroll because I feel like he was the scapegoat. I feel like that what the Raiders may have been like one of the only places he could go. And I just feel like that situation was almost impossible. Well, of course, no one thought Geno Smith was going to be as bad as he was after being traded from Seattle. But oh, you did? You
Yeah.
predicted it? Well, then you were smart because I didn't think he was going to fall off like that. But
Yeah.
I just feel bad for Pete Carroll because I feel like that was just an impossible situation with the Raiders. Like, scapegoat.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of one of those
just
things, I mean, I think
yeah,
Pete Carroll might be stuck in those old times, I
yeah.
mean, with some of his coaching
This is funny. This
strategies.
BetMGM caption, it says best head coach in each division. It shows Vrabel, Liam Cohen, Andy Reid, Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, Kellen Moore, Sean McVay. And for AFC North, it says not Zach Taylor because we don't know who the Ravens, Steelers, or Browns head coaches are going to be yet. It just says not Zach Taylor for best head coach
Oh,
in each
that's
division.
hilarious. Yeah, it's crazy. Their whole division got purged within what, like
Yeah.
a week or two?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that's definitely a shakeup. I mean, just seeing how it kind of went down, I mean,
mhm.
but
Were
I
you,
mean,
were you guys shocked by Harbaugh?
Not really. I wasn't. I
No.
figured he was either going to Atlanta, the Giants, or the Titans. But I figured he would go to Atlanta because initially one of the conditions he wanted was to pick his own GM. But he wanted 20 million. He wanted to be able to bring coordinators to the team, and he wanted to pick his own GM. Those were like the 3 criteria he wanted. And the Giants gave him 2 of those 3 criteria, but they kept Joe Schoen on. But apparently there's no friction between Harbaugh and Schoen, so Schoen's going to get to keep his job.
yeah,
Gotcha.
that's an interesting move there.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of why I figured Harbaugh would pick the Falcons over the Giants because I figured he'd want the GM as well, but he didn't. He picked the Giants.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, definitely questionable.
it appears
Well,
that they've got their quarterback in their whatever you want to call it for the future. So maybe Harbaugh's just going to work a deal with him to get the players that he wants. And
Yep.
I mean, that's probably how that ended up. And I mean, like I said, they can definitely have a bright future if they play it right and stay injury free. Unlike what happened with Scatabo last year, and
that was unfortunate.
very much so. But
I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well,
what are the
what
other
else we got
topics
for
I have
openings?
planned? I was going to wait till 5:30 for the third topic, but since we're at that point where we're on the brink of an awkward pause, I'll just get to the third topic now. Who gets the AFC Championship? I just figured this would be fun to talk about the playoff matchups. We don't have to predict the games or go in depth with the matchups, but among the four teams we've got, it really does feel wide open this year, William and Alex. I mean, you got the Broncos and Patriots are the top two seeds. The Bills and Texans are the two most experienced teams in the AFC. And in the NFC, the two most experienced teams are the Rams and Niners, but the Seahawks and Bears are the top two seeds. So it really does feel wide open in that respect as to who's going to come out of each conference.
mm-hmm. Yeah. You said who's going to get out of the AFC or the AFC Championship? Who's going to...
We'll get to the NFC in a bit, but we'll get to the AFC first since the AFC Championship's the early game next week after this weekend's game. So what two teams do you think are going to get to the AFC Championship game?
So I think I put Buffalo and New England.
That seems to be the consensus. They're the two favorites this weekend.
Yeah. I had a little bit tough of a time with Buffalo just because I was thinking, now that Gabe Davis is hurt, who's Josh Allen gonna throw to? But then I realized, it's Josh freaking Allen. He's gonna find a way to get it done no matter what, I feel like. And New England, again, I'm a little skittish on them too, just because of how their offense looked against the Chargers. But I think as long as Drake May does his thing, I guess, I think they can both get there.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I've got both the Broncos and the Patriots in the AFC title game, but I've got both teams winning by 1 point exactly. I've got Denver with a 1 point win, and I've got New England with a 1 point win, with Houston getting a wide right field goal at the end. So I think Houston's actually going to have a chance to win this game, but I think Fairbairn's going to miss a field goal. It's going to go wide right, and that's how the Patriots are going to squeak into the AFC title. And the narrative all week's going to be, the Patriots got lucky. The breaks shouldn't have gone their way, but they did. And how are the Patriots going to respond if that's the situation and the hand they're dealt and their opponent is either a hot Buffalo team or a Denver team with home field? How are they going to respond in that situation? That's going to tell us a lot because Tonga's back. So now the Patriots have their 22 starters from weeks 4 to 11 all at full health, with Gonzalez clearing concussion protocol as well. So,
yeah, and also, I can make a very solid case for Houston too, because their defense against the Steelers was absolutely incredible. They gave Aaron Rodgers nothing. It seemed like every play they were just right on him. Thing for them is I don't know what CJ Stroud was doing, but he's got to find a way to just keep the ball in his hand. Don't let it touch the turf. Glue it to his hand, do something, because he was just losing that football all over. But the throws he did make, he looked like himself. So I think if he can stay composed and that defense stays the way it was against Pittsburgh, I think they'll have a chance. I think Drake May in New England's going to find a way over them. So that's just my opinion. But Houston's defense, I feel like if the Texans do win, it's probably going to be because of that.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed by their defense. I definitely underestimated it last week when I watched them against the Steelers. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing in the AFC this year between the Broncos and the Texans. I mean, those are two defenses that are just, next
Incredible.
level. Yeah. And I think that's going to have a lot to decide with who goes to the Super Bowl and everything else. Even though I do have the Niners and Patriots picked for the Super Bowl, and I don't know. At the beginning of the year, I kind of had the Bills picked in the AFC, but it's like, Josh Allen does all these great, wonderful things, and then all of a sudden, then just doesn't show up one day and loses a game, and that's the end of the season for them. And it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, Bills have no Tyrell Shavers, no Josh Palmer, and no Gabe Davis. So literally, they're going to have to play Keon Coleman on the outside next to Shakir, and then Brandon Cooks in the slot. And if any of those three receivers get injured, they're in trouble. Also, if Denver deploys a 4-cornerback set with their first-round pick, Jahdae Barron, McMillan, and then Riley Moss-Sertan all on the outside, Buffalo's not going to have an answer for that. That's because of the wide receiver depth. So either Allen's going to have to beat the rest of the front seven with his legs and dare the secondary to tackle him, or he's going to have to make a big play to elevate the rest of the offense. The one player Denver has on IR is free safety Brandon Jones. So I think this is a game where you get your tight ends involved. If you're Buffalo, you want to get your tight ends, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. I would say a minimum of 5 to 7 targets, William, maybe more. But if you don't get those two tight ends a minimum of 5 to 7 targets, I think Denver wins, because personnel-wise, I think their cornerbacks, not only are their cornerbacks all fully healthy, they match up better with the Bills receivers, and that's one thing working against Allen.
And you just absolutely have to take advantage of those mismatches and with the defense, like the Broncos, Broncos and Texans. Like I said, I mentioned them. I even see that they're number 1 and 2 in total defense this year.
And I think it'll be harder for Cook to run, because Hufanga's Denver's strong safety. He's great at stacking the run as like an 8th man in the box. So I think it'll be harder for Cook to run. So I think if you're the Bills, you want to target the safeties in the passing game, because targeting both the backup free safety to Brandon Jones and Hufanga, that's how you keep Hufanga off balance. Because if Hufanga just goes after Cook all day and you don't attack the safeties over the middle, then Allen's going to trust the receivers, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of some openings when they present themselves.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games where Josh Allen is just going to have to get up there and do what it takes, and he has all the physical capabilities of doing it.
I think he wins.
For sure.
And then the next game is the NFC. The NFC, what two teams in the NFC? I've got the Seahawks and Bears. Williams got the Bears and 49ers. And we did go with Drake May on the cover for the predictions this week. But, Drake May and Colston Loveland were tied. And I basically told Tracy that if we get a Niners-Bears NFC championship, we are going with Loveland next week, since he was the only player outside of May to get a vote. So, and if that doesn't happen, it'll be a poll between Sertan and Smith-Njigba. I'm guessing Smith-Njigba will win that. We'll see, though. We're not going to focus on that as much. But I'll look at the NFC. I think, Alex, what do you think? Because San Francisco-Seattle, this is the one game William and I disagree on outside of the Bills-Broncos game. So what do you think of this?
I initially had Seattle winning, but it was just reported that Sam Darnold's questionable for that game. That broke, I think, under an hour ago.
Yes.
So if if that's the case, I'm going to take the 49ers.
You know, the
Because
most random thing, this would be pretty messed up, but it'd also be pretty hilarious karma. William, your QB1 in last year's draft cycle was Jalen Milroe. What if Jalen Milroe got his first career start on Saturday and he beat your Niners? That would piss you off a little bit, but you'd be happy for him too, because he'd
A little bit.
validate your claim as QB1.
Yeah, it would definitely. Well, like I named his evaluation Leviathan. I mean, it, and I mentioned that Milrow was like trying to harness Leviathan. Let just at any given time, this dude is the best, you know, athlete on the field as it stands. Running a 4.340 and just, I mean, yeah, he obviously has some work to do. With his, he has a tendency to not set his feet before he throws. He gets going a little bit too fast, like Hammy out of Under the Hedge or Over the Hedge or whatever that movie was. But it would definitely be interesting. I'm not sure what uh, they would actually plan on if he actually got the start. Because I mean, Drew Lock. I mean, he is a decent quarterback. And he was obviously a second round pick, kind of a reach of a few years back. Some people thought. And it would definitely be interesting. But like I said, I just don't know if he's ready or if they would pick, having Locke, you know, going there for the start because obviously, he'd be more of the more what do you call it? Well, my brain just absolutely went out. Anyway, but no, like I said, it would just be interesting to see who gets the start because I'm not so sure if Milrow, I thought he should have stayed in college another year, but maybe he being drafted in the third round, that actually puts him in a really good spot because the expectations aren't there, of like, when Anthony Richardson was picked, but by the Colts, and it's like Milrow is 100 times better quarterback than Anthony Richardson is, and it would definitely be interesting though because my quarterback the year before was Drake May, so apparently
and
I
I
would.
did just look up. It said if Sam Darnold is unable to play, it says Drew Lock is expected to start.
Mm.
Yeah, Drew Lock's taken less snaps than Jalen Milroe this year, but mainly those were wildcat plays where they put Milroe in at quarterback. So, and I think the de facto backup is Drew Lock. So,
Agreed.
the next game is the Rams and the Bears. I think William and we both took the Bears. I just think I don't trust the Rams secondary without Ahkello Witherspoon. I think cornerback one's been a big weakness for the Rams all year, and I think the Bears just have too many weapons. Not only did Caleb show he could rally the team in a comeback, they just have too many weapons, and I just don't think the Rams are going to have an answer for that.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
what?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
I was just saying I initially took the Rams, but the more I've been thinking about it, I'm gonna take the Bears too, just for what Chris said. Like the secondaries just got exposed in that Panthers game. I don't think that game should have been as close as it was. Stafford, obviously their offense is still great. But like I said, I agree with both of you. I think the Bears have too much weapons, so I'm taking the Bears too. Sorry to interrupt you.
I just want to see a rematch of this. What was that? That Monday game.
You mean the Sunday night game in Week 17 during the
night.
holiday break?
Yeah,
that was incredible. The Bears-Niners game. That was an incredible game.
I just want to see that game again. It almost gave me a heart attack. It just wasn't even cool. But you know, and it's for being, you know, Caleb Williams' biggest critic. You know, I mean, it was actually watching him go out there and actually, you know, take advantage of the weapons that he has there. I mean, they have absolutely just stacked the weapons up there, and obviously, you know, I love Colson Loveland. I mean, that's no secret, and you know, I mean, I'm just so glad the Bears are actually doing something. You know, I mean, it's been so many years. You know,
yeah, now that they won a playoff game and they made record profits, now Pritzker's interested in helping the Bears get a new stadium. Doesn't want to pay for it, but he's willing to help with the logistics now that they won a playoff game. It's like before he had no interest. Now they want to play. It just it's so bandwagon-esque by the governor or the mayor of Illinois. I'm not going to get into politics here, but yeah.
25 fourth quarter points for Caleb Williams. I was watching that game. Did not expect that at all. Very impressive. Yeah, I just think the Bears have it.
Yeah, I think it's either gonna. We'll see. The Bears, Seattle. I look at those two teams. They look like the class of the NFC. National championship is Monday. It's going to be Illinois, Indiana, and Miami. I can't believe I said Illinois. What the heck's wrong with me? But
that's okay.
Yeah, it's the Miami Hurricanes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. What Signetti, the Pittsburgh native, is doing is incredible. He was at IUP when I was at Slippery Rock 10 years ago, which is insane because they were both in the PSAC at the time. And now you got Mendoza, the best QB. I think both these teams have the two best tackles in the country. Carter Smith's the best left tackle. Maui Goa is the best right tackle. Ruben Bain Jr. is the best edge rusher in the draft, arguably the best player in college football this year outside of Jeremiah Smith. So, I mean, this is a tough game to pick, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Hoosiers, but I don't feel confident one way or another because the Hurricanes play in the Orange Bowl. They usually win. You've got the whiteout, and you got some boosters at Miami refusing to sell tickets to Indiana fans. So I'm curious to see what the crowd turnout's going to be for this game. I am picking the Hoosiers, but I'm not confident in it. And I think it's going to be a 7 to 14 point win. Like I'm thinking 31-17. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I know Indiana's blown out their last two opponents. I think Miami's going to keep this game closer, but Indiana's still going to find a way to pull away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. You know, I mean, even though I did pick Oregon and this and that, you know, it was obvious after watching the Alabama game that the Hoosiers are just unstoppable.
And as soon as D'Angelo Pons had the pick six on Moore the first play of the game, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a routing. I kept thinking that to myself. This is going to be another routing by Curt Cignetti in Indiana. And that's exactly what happened. It was like 56-22 in the fourth quarter or something.
Yeah. So, I mean.
And Carson Beck won that game against Ole Miss by the skin of his teeth, rushing touchdown with 15 seconds left. That legitimately could have gone either way.
I think when it comes down to it, you know, Carson Beck's going to likely end up the best quarterback in this draft. You know, I've got, you know, a decent opinion of Mendoza. I just think he has a whole lot of work to do, and actually showing, you know, what he can do as a quarterback. Because I mean, throwing fade and out routes and such, it just, I mean, yeah. He has to show that he can do more than that. You know.
Yeah,
but,
I'm with. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, I agree with Chris. I'm going to take the Hoosiers too. I agree with you. I think Carson Beck is like the better all around quarterback than Mendoza, but I think Mendoza has more firepower when he's right. Um, like you guys said, I think uh, just Miami barely beating Old Miss and just how good Indiana's looked, that sealed it for me. I think Indiana will take it.
Yeah, and I'm going with like a 31-17 type game where the Indiana covers the spread, but it's not like it's not as vicious as what they did to Alabama or Oregon. I think Miami's going to keep this game competitive for 2 to 3 quarters, and Indiana's going to pull away in the fourth. Whether that's a Mendoza touchdown or a pick six by D'Angelo Pons again, I don't know, but I think Indiana's going to pull away in the fourth. And then the last topic I've got before we sign off, it's the Senior Bowl QBs. For the American team, you've got Taylor Green, Arkansas, Luke Altmaier, Illinois, and Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. That's the American team. The national team, Sawyer Robertson, Baylor, Cole Taylor, North Dakota State, and Diego Pavia out of Vanderbilt. So I like the court. I think Pavia and Nussmeier are going to be the two guys that headline this Senior Bowl, William.
Yeah, and Nussmeier, after being benched, and what happened at LSU this last season, I mean, he's a much better quarterback than people think, and actually, if I were to say who is going to be the best quarterback, Carson Beck is obviously, the safe choice. He's been there. He's played the best defenses in college, played the best teams in college, and done well at it. But Nussmeier, being a coach's son and just the IQ that he has, how much he knows about it. I mean, I would, definitely say he's an NFL quarterback, and I think he's going to be able to show that out at the Senior Bowl, which is a really good thing after being benched, and just the doubt that people have in him now. So
yeah, it's interesting because Ty Simpson's not really graded that highly on the big board. I thought we were going to put him in at 64, but his potential grade dropped from a 91 to a 90, and Nussmeier was at a 92, 93 at the start of the year, fell to an 89. But I think he could rebound at the Senior Bowl, so I'm curious to see how this class is going to play itself out as we get closer to the draft. I'm not going to jump too much into that right now, but I am curious to see how things are going to play out as we get closer to the draft. Because if Aguilar ends up in this draft, I could see him moving up. But I mean, right now he is applying for an extra year of eligibility. That's going to court, so I'm not gonna wait too long on that because he might win that. You might lose that, but he's not in the All-Star game, so that tells me his prospectus for the NFL is lower than I thought it would be. So, but I agree. Any closing thoughts on this show, Alex, before we sign off? Because it was great to have you on. It was good to talk some ball with you.
Absolutely. Just one last thing. Did Ty Simpson declare for the NFL draft?
He did declare for the draft.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I missed that. No, I don't think I have anything else. But thank you guys for having me on. This was great.
For sure, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on and bullshitting with us, and I don't know, I just broke my own
talking some ball
rules. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, Alex.